tell me that we ought to snuff people because they're too old. That's what you're telling me, you're right? They're too expensive.
Everybody but me.
So let's talk a little bit about the law, end-of-life policy. I say to you that law, medicine, ethics sort of come together here. I've got some international comparisons for you, so you can see what other people are doing. I gave this lecture first in Crimea, by the way, which is very interesting. And then some questions to consider. I've got a lot here, I'm going to skip some of it, but you'll get the flavor. Right, euthanasia. You know what it is, yes? It comes from the Greek word meaning good death. And in practice, it is ending folks' life in a way that minimizes pain. Anybody here done it?
Nobody's going to I would tell you.
In fact, the lawyer side of me tells you going in, you're going to have a patient in your lifetime who's going to say, please let me die. Be real careful. Because prosecutors like to make big deals out of this stuff. Don't. There are two types of euthanasia, at least. There's euthanasia with the patient's consent, right, Dr. Kevorkian? And there's euthanasia without the patient's consent. No? Well, sure. But there's euthanasia that occurs by proxy. Is it not clear to you that withdrawal of life support based on what a family member asks is euthanasia? It can happen by court order. It can be done by a doctor. I've been in situations where I knew a doctor had done it. Just did it. It used to be real common. I think it's less common now.
Wait. Define that though, because it's...
Obstetricians delivering babies.
No, I mean like when you're talking about withdrawing support, that's done all the time.
Oh, sure. No. I'm saying doctors who just do it. I've had students tell me, they put people on a morphine coma, knowing full well that what the patient going through.
And in addition to that, you push $10 grams of morphine and put them on a drip.
No, 50 is better.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Same stuff? There are passive euthanasia, where you just withdraw life support. There's non-aggressive and aggressive, where you affirmatively do something. Dr. Kevorkian would be called aggressive. Yeah. Right, passive, morphine. I think it's more common than people would admit. Non-aggressive withdrawing life support. Aggressive, I think withdrawing feeding hydration is aggressive. This is very controversial stuff. Who gets it? The elderly? Disabled infants? Maybe the poor? Mentally ill? I mean, this is from a website, but yes.
This is an interesting thing because I'm pretty, I'm on the side of things that, people are elder and so just let them go. But I think I passively let my elderly friend die because we couldn't put a peg tube in him to save him, but he's 92 and has severe aspiration and decided not to go that route. But I'll tell you, it was the worst thing I ever watched because that's how he died, because he really was dehydrated. That's why he died, and that was because I knew personally and forever. For me, that was, I knew, I'm like, this is what I'm doing. It's killing him this way. But the alternative is to peg you in like the life.
Right.
And, you know, and I couldn't do that to him either. That was a very difficult thing to watch. You know, you can think.
You can put terminally ill up here.
No. Shouldn't. Yeah. Do you think that's different?
Yes.
Aren't we all terminally ill? It's a matter of speed. I know what you're saying, I'm teasing. Terminally ill soon. Right? For somebody who's suffering.
That's what I think is most common.
Thank
And
you.
I would have liked us to have a morphine drug, but he did not.
Mhm.
Because I think that if you're gonna do that, then,
You know, you can get people to order that if you get them in hospice. You
well, he
can
was
have
under
that.
hospice care and they were gave him what?
Morphine to alleviate his suffering while he died of dehydration.
Back to self-determination. Do you think that people have a right to do themselves in? If you have a right of privacy, should you not have a right?
That's suicide.
Excuse me?
Right, that's what I'm thinking.
And it's not. Why? Suicide's illegal. Well, first of all, I claim to you that suicide's not illegal. Attempted suicide's illegal.
Yeah.
But
And do they pay for all those costs when they hold up, they just recently closed the highway where I live because somebody was standing on the bridge and they were gonna jump in the Susquehanna, so they closed the highways for hours, trying to talk to this guy. Like, did they end up having to pay for all that?
they charge the person.
They charge him for all that. And then he
Talk about committing suicide.
like,
give
it's
them
like
a
you're
bill.
having a bad day now. I mean, that's a joke. Please don't kill yourself so you can pay the $100,000.
That's funny.
Either succeed.
That's funny. No, I claim to you that if this is, the problem here is not a matter of self-determination. People who decide to do it and do it, you're not going to prosecute. The problem is, really, if you want to peel beneath it, there are people who can't or won't do it on their own, who want help doing it. That's what this is all about, isn't it? And some of the questions here then pertain to whether we're going to allow a third party of some sort, whether it's the family, right, the medical folks, or the courts, who are you going to allow to do this? Ever heard of Glucksberg versus Washington? Glucksberg versus Washington was a Kevorkian type case. In Glucksberg, a disabled person, think they were mentally ill, petitioned the court to allow a doctor to terminate life. By the way, all the special interest groups come out of the woodwork on these kinds of cases. The disability group advocates are terrified about these cases. And one of the arguments was made was that anybody who wants to terminate their life is by definition mentally ill, which I don't follow.
Actually, that's true, they're not mentally ill. Everybody at one point or probably contemplated is an actual part of injury.
That's right.
So it's not mental illness.
The Supreme Court said that there's no right for you to be able to let a doctor do you in. Then that states have a rational, natural interest in forbidding doctors from terminating people's lives, even though they may want it. So is that a limitation on the right of privacy? Right? Why would the court decide that? Does this topic make some doctors very nervous?
Yes.
Does it make you nervous? Even if you thought it was legal, would you do this for patients? Okay? Are you trained for it? So I claim to you that, number one, the state, the government, doesn't want to go anywhere near this. It's too dangerous. The interests of the state are keeping people alive at all costs. They don't want mixed motives on it. And in terms of doctors, I don't think they want to do this stuff at all. They're not trained for it, don't want to do it.
Is it in Oregon that has euthanasia policies?
Yes.
Washington as well.
I don't know if they've adopted it or not. Oregon has it.
Oregon has.
Mhm. The most simplistic part of it from a legal standpoint is that to kill somebody is a homicide. If you do it, they can prosecute you. And you could be a desert case.
But then, my question is, if there was no invention of the ventilator, there was no invention of the, all these mechanical things, that person wouldn't actually die. So taking that support, how can that be homicide? Because it was not actually, it was just an artificial thing that was taking lungs open.
That's Quinlan. That's the Quinlan case. That's what the court concluded in Quinlan. You want me to give the other side of that? Okay. Eating. Eating. Okay? That's an intervention. If you don't eat, you die. But you do that naturally. Okay? So if we have something that can keep you alive, right? I claim to you that's part of life. And cut through it all. This is not about equipment or not about equipment. This is about somebody being in pain and wanting to die. And this is about whether or not we're going to let somebody else take the life. That's what this is, right?
Yeah, but you can't say that a peg tube is natural. Eating is
No.
natural.
No, I'm saying that it is an invention that's used. It's part of life.
Right, so it's breathing, but ventilators aren't.
You can call it unnatural, but I'm saying if you use it, you keep somebody alive. And to fail to keep somebody alive is taking their life.
But what is the definition of a
If you can keep them alive.
But why is this such a big deal about ventilators, but not such a big deal about peg tubes?
Because people in their minds are willing to make these distinctions. Yes.
So what do you define
Okay.
life? If brain is dead, if the person cannot breathe by himself, has no clue what's going on, why do you have?
That's Quinlan. You can do it. Legally. But I say to you, make no mistake, that's taking of a life. Okay? That's taking of a life. You make, the law may say it's okay, but be clear what it is. Okay? I don't have trouble with it, actually. Now, suppose somebody is fully cognizant. And suppose somebody is terminal in, suppose somebody is terminal in 2 weeks. Do you have any trouble taking their life?
How do you know it's in 2
That's
weeks?
2 weeks.
How do you know?
Oh, come on.
Let's say you know, Marie.
Come on.
I know what MS, and she was dying. She has.
No, you've treated 100 cases, and in 99 of them, they didn't last 2 weeks. Right? You got trouble taking their life?
I would.
Okay, I'm just saying. Now I
guess
say,
there's a difference between active and passive.
that's the point on all this. Yes.
I have a problem actively, but passively, we do that all the time. We talk family members out of peg tubes and end-stage Alzheimer's disease. So passively, we are doing that.
There's a huge difference in people's minds between the two, and you're absolutely right. People accept passive, and they get real squeamish about active. You can say they're going to die soon. If you really believe they're going to die soon, and they're in a lot of pain.
Well, I think a lot of us here have worked in long-term care have given morphine to those people who are dying actively and been just fine with as much morphine as it took to relieve their pain, regardless of whether it hastened their death. I'm sure of that.
Exactly.
Really, they're
Right.
Now,
Right.
is there a difference between 2 weeks and 2 months and 2 years and 20 years? I think there is,
Yeah.
but philosophically there shouldn't be. Why do you think there's a difference? I'd be too.
You mean as far as whether you're gonna withhold treatment?
Or whether you're gonna give them the morphine drug.
Well, it depends
Or
what
whether
your
you
goal
put the morphine there and say, you determine how much you want to take.
I mean, if your goal is for comfort, and that's something that we promise our patients, that we're gonna try our best to keep them comfortable. And if the morphine is giving them comfort, then that's why we're giving it. If as a side effect, it hastens their death, I think that's okay. But what if they would have lived in agony for 20 years, is what he's saying?
If I have
They
full
would've
of
lived,
Alzheimer's
but been
disease
in
and my
agony
body's
for
gonna
20
keep me
years.
miserable for 20 years,
Still okay.
you better give me that more.
You know what one of my best friends says?
But there's long acting, and you can.
You'll never know.
Oh, yeah? Well, I'm just telling you right now, as soon as I know that's coming on, before
You
it
know
gets that
whose-
bad,
you know whose
I'll
problem
take
it is?
care of my own
This
self.
guy's illegal, Dory.
You know whose problem that one is?
That's society's
That's
problem,
your
because
kid's
I'll be
problem.
peeing all over.
No, that's your
the time.
kid's problem.
What's that? Yeah, I
That's your
know.
kid's problem.
Exactly, and I only have one
You
kid, I'm
won't
not
know.
doing that. No, because I'll take care of it before it gets to that.
Maybe.
One of the
Hopefully.
docs I work with says
That's
that's very
actually
open.
true.
He's an older physician, he's had some medical problems, he's in his 60s, and he very openly
Older.
says. I'm older than myself, but he very openly says that, you know, if he detects any type of, that if he has a shotgun in his hot drawer, bullets loaded, and if I ever hear anything,
Oh, I won't use a shotgun. I'll come see one of you.
Yeah, really.
You know what's hard about that is because I remember my mom watched her mother have Alzheimer's and
that's hard for you.
And so now I'm watching my mother, and my mother always would say to me, I never want to be that way. I don't ever mourn me if I die young because I never want to be that way. Now she's worse than what her mother ever was at a much younger age. But when you know her
Is
wishes,
she cognizant?
she's,
Of it?
no. So, well, yes and no. So you don't know what line, when, even if somebody would take care of her or whatever, I mean, but I'm just
Did she
saying,
instruct
you
you
don't-
to, Becky? Did she tell you what she wanted you to do if it did happen?
No, she didn't say kill me, because she's Catholic, so she wouldn't agree with that. But I'm just saying, I know she doesn't want any extra, I remember her, you know, saying a lot about she didn't want any extra things, because she knows the outline, right? But I'm just saying is that when do you know, she's on a bunch of meds. She is a hypertensive. So when do you, or when do you,
Possibly.
I don't, it's so hard because if you don't want to knock, even if you're gonna knock yourself out, because I think about that. So if I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna knock myself out, well, I want to do it, if I'm still able to have some fun, I still want to be able to do it, but I'm gonna have to do it when I still am cognizant of the fact that
It's
of where I'm
happening.
going. Because right now, she would never, she goes from totally out of it to a little out of it.
And you're asking yourself when to take her off her meds.
Yeah, and that. I mean, if I took her off for hypertensive, not that I don't even want to say that, but I'm just,
Yeah.
you know what I
Well,
mean?
yeah, we go through that.
Okay, so here's something that kind of we use, and I really think some of our ethicists in the country need to take a step forward and start putting out a few basic guidelines.
Yeah.
Well, one thing we do, so Medicare says that if you are over the age of 55, you need to have a colonoscopy every 10 years, right? So you've got an 87-year-old, and their last colonoscopy was when they're 77. So do they have colonoscopy or not? Well, it depends. If that 87-year-old is active and he's got a life expectancy that's greater than 5 years, then they'll still go ahead and do it. If they have dementia, okay? So someone with dementia, by the time someone with dementia is ready for a nursing home, their expected lifespan is only down a year. You ethically do not have to do that. The government says they do not need to have the colonoscopy.
So that's one, or a mammogram or anything like that, because it's a slow growing thing, and anything, if I would do something preventative for the next 10 years, then the
Right.
expectancy is less.
But what about, so you're gonna say that with a hypertensive bill?
No, but I would say with some other things, like maybe statins, like things
Right.
that are more preventive.
Osteoporosis.
Yeah, but now you have to be careful, because you're at a higher risk for falls.
If they're non-weight carrying though, and end-stage dementia, they don't stand up and they don't move.
How about making
Well,
sure she
yeah,
wears
but-
a seatbelt every time she's in a car, even though she yells about it?
Oh, let it go.
You know, there's a part of me that says, like, well, we know where she's going, there's part of me, well,
Yeah, but what are the
should I fight with her about her
chances?
seatbelt, or? Right.
Becky, what are the chances though, if she's in an accident, she's just gonna be hurt more, not
Yeah.
dead, she's not gonna die.
Yeah.
She's gonna end up with a fractured hip and a fractured arm and a
And she'll die.
concussion.
But what's she gonna do anyway? Oh, no, she'll die from a fracture.
Not for a while, not for a while,
Maybe.
she'll suffer.
6 months, right?
Well, how long she gonna die
Fractured
from
hip,
this
6
Alzheimer's?
months.
I mean, it's all, it is very, I mean, it's more
I think
complex
it's a
now
better
than
chance of
it is.
hurting her than killing her, so I
It's
would.
all
put it-
relative though, because there's different classes of medications.
I put her
There's
seatbelt on.
things that prevent symptoms today, things that prevent symptoms tomorrow, and things that prevent these diseases 5 years down the line. There's completely different. That beta blocker they were using
Right.
to prevent their MI, that also makes them tired and fatigued and not eat, maybe something they sacrifice down
And
the
you know
line.
what, Becky, like sometimes your family will say, you know what, that's we're just gonna do comfort care, or we're gonna do hospice, and so we take them off of stuff, when we bring in hospice, we're not,
They get better.
and don't they do better? So you can always try to just say, you know what, we're gonna take our chances, and you can do that, as your daughter, just say, you're afraid to probably fall on safety.
I didn't tell you the tagline of Karen Quinlan. They withdrew the respirator.
Yeah.
10 years.
Yeah, that's right, I
She
do.
did 10 years. So
Yeah, that's
you
right.
take it, you take all the meds away.
Right.
It made the drug interactions there, maybe doing
That's
acid
a
stuff.
classic
It made it
geriatric
work.
thing. I think all the medications
Yeah.
can actually get better.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna see more and more stuff, and
Yep.
that's my reasoning.
I've seen that a bunch.
We had that.
This is not abstract stuff, by the way, right? This is going to be real for almost everybody in the room. And on both ends, that's people, your kids are going to have the same thing. Same issue.
My mother died this past March, and she had a major stroke 6 years prior, and was, in a convalescent with brain damage to the liver. We finally, the last 6 or 8 months, put her into comfort care, and actually you can be as aggressive as you want. The doctor offered me to take her off everything, her blood pressure meds. What we felt comfortable with, and I talked my dad into, was to stop the aggressive care of the big gun antibiotics and the ER visits. And so she did succumb to pneumonia. But we kept,
Okay.
the feeding tube, the oxygen, and her oral antibiotics.
But wasn't that painful? Pneumonia.
Yeah, she put the end.
Pneumonia is really tough.
Well, the oxygen is what kept her going. But she had it several times, and the quality of her life never was good, and she was slowly fading away. So you have to decide what's comfortable for you.
Not really, well, there's forms. That's always the whole other issue, that you're teaching not just you, it's more plus the husband or.
What's the problem with quality of life as an issue here? You know it's real. You know it's the real issue. But, in fact, talk to me about pain.
It's individualized, you cannot see someone else's.
Correct. Same with quality of life. My dad's 90 years old.